John Sanders from California. So as I listen to you, what I'm hearing is that in our country, we have sort of a crisis of courage, of a willingness to use constitutional mechanisms to exercise reason more often over passion. And what I wanted to ask you about, so bear with me, is regular order in the legislature, because the Constitution does not prescribe how Congress should operate, but Congress has always operated on with mechanisms, with principles that force the legislatures to use reason over passion to make decisions. Now, you mentioned earlier the upcoming Supreme Court confirmation process, and recently we've had changes in the way the Senate works, where now you just need a simple majority to get a Supreme Court justice confirmed. So I want to know what your thoughts on that are, what your thoughts on regular order are with the legislature, and maybe perhaps do we need some sort of constitutional circumscribing of congressional behavior so that we have our leaders using reason more often?
Yes, wonderful. Regular order is one of the most Madisonian solutions imaginable. And this incredible, wonderful group of constitutional wonks, and I use that in the highest sense of praise, you're absolutely right that if we had to pick a single institutional reform to resurrect Madisonian reason, it would be regular order. So for those who are not among the initiatists, regular order, as you say, requires that laws go through the committee process and are considered over a period of time rather than being pushed through by leadership without deliberation and without consideration or criticism by the other party. And John McCain received the Liberty Medal in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center last year from our current chair, Vice President Biden. It's one of the most moving ceremonies I've ever had the privilege of experiencing. And McCain and Biden both lamented the end of regular order. They said that that was an age during the decades together that they served in the Senate that ensured that people of both parties would listen to the arguments from the opposite point of view, and that you couldn't have a parliamentary plebiscitary system that would circumvent debate. And the Hewlett Foundation, which has a Madisonian initiative, which is very generously supporting institutional reforms in Congress, has identified the resurrection of regular order as another priority. So how precisely it could be resurrected is not clear, since Congress has plenary control over its own rules, but that idea of forcing deliberation is crucial. Now, what are other ways that we can force or at least enjoy the benefits of deliberation in Congress? Well, through Supreme Court confirmation hearings. It's now become a truism or banality to dismiss confirmation hearings as a kabuki dance, as Senator Biden said in 2005, a form of political theater. And the idea is that senators ask political questions and the nominees dodge them, and we learn nothing. I completely reject that characterization of the hearings. When you go back to every hearing since Robert Bork in 1987, you will find that the nominees specifically and clearly signaled their judicial philosophies in ways that proved to be prescient. So Bork said he was an originalist and insisted that the Constitution should not enforce unenumerated rights. Justice Kennedy rejected the originalist label and endorsed the right to privacy in terms that specifically anticipated his pay-in to the right to define one's own conception of the mystery of life. I can't quote it from memory, but he said a short list of qualities that should be consulted in identifying unenumerated liberties are the right to self-fulfillment, the right to personality, the right to dignity. He's signaling his views in the marriage equality cases. Justice Souter asked whether he was similar or dissimilar to Justice William Brennan, the liberal lion who he was replacing, said Justice Brennan is one of the greatest constitutional heroes in American history. And on the court, he performed just as Justice Brennan did, and therefore conservative cries of no more suitors should not have been cries of surprise, since he said exactly what he's going to do. And I could go down the list. So now we have a situation where these confirmation hearings are, they're not kabuki theater, but they are probably public education opportunities in which the result is preordained. It's likely, failing scandal or unexpected defection, that the president's nominee will be confirmed because the filibuster has been eliminated and the confirmation can take place by majority vote. But the fact that the result is preordained doesn't mean that we don't have an obligation to educate ourselves closely about the constitutional views of these nominees, and whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, even if you're a Republican senator who's going to vote to confirm the nominee, regardless, I would think that you'd have a civic obligation to find out exactly what kind of conservative has been nominated, and whether it's a pragmatic conservative or an originalist or a traditionalist. What is the view of precedent? The former Judge Mike Ludick, a conservative hero, has said that there are certain precedents that should be considered super precedents because they've been affirmed by justices appointed by presidents of both political parties. And although he's a strong originalist, he believes that certain precedents, including Roe, are entitled to respect because they become embedded in the fabric of our law. But we must find out from our nominee what he or she thinks about that question. So all of this is a function in public education, and it goes back to this theme of why your work as teachers is so important, and why we have to, in this world of partisan polarization and democratic politics, have enough respect for our fellow citizens. And C-SPAN is really the most beautiful educational platform that exists. It's the only place that will give citizens access to unfettered long hearings and long talks like this one and so forth. All of you wonderful C-SPAN viewers who are probably watching this at 3 a.m, I'm so sorry that you can't sleep, but I'm so honored that you're listening to this lecture because you're educating yourself about the Constitution, and that's what the hearings should be for. And that's what is going to save us as a democracy, one by one, citizen by citizen, people informing themselves about complicated arguments so they can make up their own minds. And here's to regular order, and let's resurrect it.